Hey everybody, how is everybody this evening? It is Monday evening. It is August 16th, 5 p.m. with another week's edition of Clack and Shimmy. This week we are discussing the reality of dating. So we have some interesting topics to talk about this week. I hope everyone had an awesome and amazing weekend. My weekend was up, down, interesting. I got to spend time with sisters, and so it was definitely interesting. I hope you guys had. I hope your day, your Monday, although it may have started off sluggish like mine, I hope that you still had an amazing day. I hope that work was less stressful for you today. Hey, Joan, how are you? How are you today, Joan? Woo, child. How was your day today? I know mine started off a little slow because you know how Mondays get for you. But we done made it through the day. And now we in the evening time because you know I meditate in the morning, honey, so I can sleep in the evening. How are you today, though, Joan? I hope all is well with you today. So, look, today we're going to be talking about this week we will be discussing the realities of dating. We will be discussing the various aspects of dating. So, okay, Joan says today was super busy, good busy. That's good. Nothing beats a busy day. As long as you was productive, that's all that matters. So, we have the different hey, Zeta, good evening to you. Good evening to you. You know, so many times that when we think of dating, it's kind of like, dating, we date just to date or things like that. But there's three aspects of dating that I want to discuss this week. Tonight, we're going to discuss dating with children, what it's like to have children and to date or to date someone that has kids. Hey, Danetta. Hey, Jacqueline. Okay. Hey, y'all. How y'all doing this evening? I hope your day was pretty easy, pretty laid back for a Monday. I'm wishful thinking. So tonight, y'all know usually I have my glass. So I got my glass tonight. But tonight I don't have my wine. I have an infused lemonade by a company called Jackpot. So that's what I have tonight. And I will be featuring drinks from Jackpot the rest of the week, and they're infused drinks. So yes. So tonight you'll notice that the madam has left the building. Madam has left, okay? And tonight Mama Bree popped in to talk to y'all about this dating with kids, because honey, we need to get this situation together, okay? Because for some odd reason, whether you have kids or you're trying to date or you have, hey, there's my jackpot, baby. Yay! Look, I'm so glad you popped in because, honey, this infused lemonade is everything. So I'm going to need you to put your information in the comments so people know how to reach you guys at Jackpot. They have different infused drinks. They have different levels to their infusions. And this lemonade, when I say it is so smooth and just an amazing evening drink, it is an amazing evening drink. I got level one. I told him, give me something that I can sip on during my show that I can finish the show. Okay, so yes, but it is everything. I promise you, it is everything. So listen, tonight I want to start off with what in terms of dating with children. So many times we find okay, Danetta said I shared this live for my friends that are single with children. Absolutely, because here's the thing. It's different rules when you're dating with kids versus dating without children. When you're dating and your children are all grown, you don't necessarily need rules, or you don't necessarily have certain boundaries that you have to put in place when your kids are 21 and older, because at that point they're more than likely out of your house. They're not dependent upon you for everything that they need. They don't require your attention. They don't require parent teacher conference meetings. So it's different rules when you're dating with children, as well as dating someone that has children if you don't have children. So those are some of the things that I wanted to discuss tonight. So, Mother does her research. So tonight we're going to be discussing deal breakers. We're going to be discussing tips about dating with kids. We're going to be discussing ways in which to introduce your children to the person in which you're dating. We're also going to talk about the questions in which you should consider when you're dating someone with children or whether or not you have children. So, absolutely. Okay. Jacque says, thank you. I'm glad you like it. We're working on a website, but for now, inquiries will be taken on Instagram at JP underscore uncut. So I will be putting that up there from time to time. Again, the company is called Jackpot. They have infused drinks, great for evenings, great for parties. Because wait till y'all see the one I pull out Friday. I have a different one for every day this week. So I'm not going to tell y'all up front what they are. You just going to have to see them for yourself. But I promise you, they are absolutely delicious. So let's get into it tonight. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is tips up to start dating when you have children. First rule is you need to decide that you're ready. You have to decide for yourself that you're ready to actually start dating. And when you decide that, it's a level of comfort that you have for yourself. You may not decide to start dating until your children reach a certain age, which is absolutely fine because we know that children require a certain amount of attention, they require a certain amount of commitment, your time commitment, your emotional commitment, your physical commitment up to a certain age. So deciding not to date until your children are a certain age is absolutely fine because you set your own limits when it comes to dating. So make sure that when you do decide that you're comfortable enough or that you're ready to put yourself out there into that dating pool. Because once you enter that dating pool with children, you're now in for a whole different ball game. Make sure your second thing is once you decide that you're ready, you have to literally remove all of the guilty thoughts in your head. Because as a parent, we feel guilty sometimes, especially when our kids are little, about wanting any time for ourselves. We feel guilty about wanting to put us first for a change or wanting to have any semblance of a life. So you have to remove all of that out of your head. Just remove it completely. So, and that's just for this part is specifically for people who have children. These are the rules that you well not rules, but these are some of the tips in which people with children could sort of go by. Be honest with your kids about dating. If your kids are slightly older, they're 9, 10, 11 on up, be honest with your children when it comes to you wanting to date or you going out on dates. Number 4 is brace yourself for the judgment. Um, Everyone has opinions, and it's okay. Everybody has opinions on whatever your that you decided to date, or they have opinions on the fact that you hired a babysitter to go out on a date. Or here's the thing: as parents, we need lives too. Do not allow the parental journey to take you completely whole. It will swallow you up. You will lose your identity in your children. Um, because so many times we focus so hard on our kids that we leave ourselves behind or that we leave ourselves by the wayside, whether it be physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, that we tend to leave ourselves behind because we're so busy in that caregiver mode that we forget that sometimes we need to do self-care and self-love for ourselves. Also, tell your dates up front that you have kids. Because that's something that's important to know. And I don't mean like date 4 or 5 or 6. First date, they need to know out the gate that you have children because that allows them to know, like, okay, is this something that I want to pursue or something that I don't pursue? And vice versa. If you're seeing someone with children, I will hope that on the first date that they let you know, like, hey, I am a parent. Because that's something that you need to know. Because you need to know how to navigate through that because you have to decide just like the other person has to decide, okay, they may not want to date people with children. So it's very important that you're clear cut and upfront on your first date that you have children, because there's nothing worse than being involved in a relationship or you go down the line and you've been on several dates and now you realize that you like this person and you decide you want to tell this person you have children. They're like, wait a minute, I don't want to date anybody with kids. You set yourself up for failure, you set yourself up for heartbreak, you set yourself up for headache. So first date, let your date know that you have children and allow them to make that decision on whether or not this is a journey that they want to take. And screen your dates. Screen your look. My friends think it is absolutely hilarious that I screen my dates, but I tell you, as a single parent, that is important. I need to know if you have, because here's the thing, not everybody's upfront about their criminal backgrounds. Everybody's not upfront about the fact that, you got bad credit, or they're not upfront about the fact that you got evictions, or you got court cases, or you got child. Like, there's certain things that you should know when you're dating someone, okay? When you realize that this is someone that is physically appealing to you, and you go on a date, research. I'm sorry, but nowadays you have to research and screen your dates thoroughly. Everybody don't have good intentions. It's unfortunate, but everybody don't have good intentions, and everybody's not upfront. So screen your dates. I promise you. My opinion, just a thought. I want to get into some of these deal breakers. As single parents, whether you're a single dad, whether you're a single mom. Hey Linda, how are you? Whether you're these are things that, are absolute deal breakers. There is no negotiation. There is no no conversation about it. These are absolute deal breakers. That means you should walk away. There's no conversation about certain things when it comes to your children. The first deal breaker is that you dealing with somebody that ignores your kids or don't like your kids. You can't be in a relationship with somebody that don't like your kids. That's not going to work. You can't be with somebody that ignores your kids and expect you to ignore them too. Those are your kids. You can't expect or ask a parent to decide that their kids are just like, go away. No, that's not how that works. That's a deal breaker for somebody to ignore your kids or not to like your kids. Second deal breaker. Somebody that wants to be more important and feels that they should be prioritized over your kids. No, ma'am, no, sir. No, absolutely not. No. Anybody that feels that they should take priority or precedent over your children, honey, is a deal breaker. Walk away. Walk away. Because that's letting you know that they don't value your children. They don't think your children are important. They feel like they are more important. They need, show them the door. Show them the door. I'm sorry, y'all. Ooh. Absolutely. Zeta says, okay. Come on now. Denise says they need to go. Hey, A-Trey. A-Trey says, absolutely not. Certain things are just, there's no conversation about, there is no negotiation about. When it comes to your kids, at the end of the day, your children should be your priority. So anybody who feels that your kids should not be, not worth your time. There's not even a second phone call. There's not a text after that. It's show them to the door, goodbye. In communication. A third deal breaker is somebody that's pushing too hard to meet your kids before you're ready. Not everybody has good intentions. And that's the sad part. Everybody doesn't have good intentions. We see too many times and too often that we see on the news, woman leaves kids with boyfriend either molests or sexually assaults the children, or he's killed one of the kids. It's too many times that we've seen these situations on the news. Too many. Anytime you're dealing with someone, whether it be a male or a female, that's pushing too hard to meet your kids after you've already specifically stated that you're not comfortable for that yet, or you're not ready for that yet, that's a deal breaker. That's a deal breaker, because no one should be pushing you to do anything outside of your comfort zone. Like, I'm going to tell you, if y'all only been seeing each other 2 weeks, I'm going to need you to stop asking when you're going to meet my kids. I need to decide whether I like you enough yet first, okay? Like, that's just, there's sometimes you have to question people's motives. You really do. So be mindful of that. When people are asking or pushing, like, yeah, well, I want to meet the kids. Well, let's do this with the kids. I only known you 2 days. We only been together like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. No, we don't need to plan. No, you don't need to come over here for family movie night. You wasn't invited. Like, no, that's show them the door and communication. Okay. The next deal breaker, absolute deal breaker, is abuse or mistreating your children. There is no negotiation, no talk about it, no debating about it. Anytime there is abuse or mistreatment of your children, show them the door. I don't care if it's physical, verbal, emotional, any type of abuse that you see, they got to go. And depending on what the situation was, you might need to dial 911 first. There's no negotiation when it comes to mistreatment of children or abuse of children. Now, children do need correction, children do need discipline. And there is a fine line between abuse and discipline. But if you know for yourself that you see that you're the type of parent that when you talk to your children, you may hit that voice with them tight lips like, get over here, I'm not going to tell you again. There's a difference when if you've never been that type of parent that you don't physically, because some parents, now hear me, some parents don't physically discipline their children. Some parents do. And if you're not a parent that physically disciplines your children, then there's no reason why the person you're with should be physically disciplining your children. Discipline should be universal across the board. No one should be doing anything to your children that you don't do. If you don't holler at your kids, the person you with shouldn't be hollering at your kids. You don't cuss at your kids, the person you with shouldn't be cussing at your kids. Discipline should be universal across the board with the person that you with. And they shouldn't be disciplining your kids if you've been together only 2 weeks. I'm just saying. That's just my opinion. We all have them. But discipline should be across the board. Next one is telling you how to parent. Hey, Misha, how are you? Zeta says, OMG, you see this a lot. You do. Good afternoon, Misha. How are you this evening? Telling you how to parent your kids is another thing. People are definitely sensitive about other people telling them how to raise their children. And it can be quite offensive for people who don't have kids to tell you how to raise your kids. Those are the people you be like, okay, in one ear and out the other. Like, you can't tell somebody how to be or what to do if you've never been in that situation or you've never walked in that person's shoes. You would not completely understand what that person feels, what they're going through, or how to even deal with that situation if you've never been in that situation. So people who don't have children, it's hard to hear advice from those people that don't have children. It's hard. I'm going to tell you, it is, because I'm a single parent and I'm not telling you something that I heard. I'm telling you something that I know. Hey, Lenore, how are you? Like, it's something I know. Just a thought. I've had experience where the principal of my son's school had no children. She has no children. She doesn't know how to talk to people, and she definitely doesn't know how to talk to kids. Just an observation and just my opinion. The next deal breaker is unwillingness to be part of your kids' lives. When you're dating somebody and they're willing to date you, having children, or you're willing to date that person that has kids, know the role in which that other person wants to take. Just because you dating somebody don't mean they want to be stepdaddy or stepmama to your kids. They may just want to be the cool friend. So don't put people in roles that they don't want to be in, and don't expect people to be in roles that they may not want to be in. Have that conversation so you know the role that person wants to take. But if they don't want to play any role in your kid's life, why are you here? Why are you here? Because at the end of the day, if you're in a relationship, at some point in time, you're going to have to interact with my children at some point, especially if I've determined that this is a long-term relationship for me. There's something about that just shouldn't sit right if they don't want to participate or have anything to do with your kids. Same way as ignoring your kids or wanting to be put above your kids. It's the same thing. It's a deal breaker. They need to go because they're going to have to interact and they're going to have to decide what role they want to play. I mean, it's cool if they just want to play the cool friend. That's fine. But know that. And don't try to put them in situations where it's like, hey, Jordan, don't put them in situations where it's like, well, just because they got kids and you decide you want to date them and you're cool with them having kids, or you're cool every once in a while, y'all doing events that are good for the kids or whatever, doesn't necessarily mean that you want to be stepmama, braiding hair, washing clothes, giving kids baths, taking kids to school. That don't mean that's the role you want to play. So know that and have that conversation with your partner about the role in which they want to play in the lives of your children, because that's very important. That's very important. That's something that you need to know. The next one is, if your kids are uncomfortable around this person, kids can sense things that we may not always be able to sense, because sometimes we're so close to the situation and sometimes our blinders are on to where we can't see sideways, and we can't see other things that other people see, especially children. When children are uneasy or uncomfortable around a person, especially the person that you're dating, you should take note of that. You should absolutely take note of that. And you should have a conversation with your children. Because if your children are uncomfortable with this person, then maybe you shouldn't be with them. That's a deal breaker. Because your children have to be comfortable with the person in which you're seeing or the person that you're dating. Because if this is the person you're going to be spending your time with, eventually spending time with this person, feelings develop. You might fall in love with this person. It get to a point where you might be engaged. You might marry this person. But how would that work if your children are uncomfortable with the person that you're with? That's not going to work. It's going to cause a problem in your relationship and in your marriage. So please understand that that's something that you should take note of. If your child is feeling uncomfortable around that other person, you need to find out why. Just watch your kids' reactions. If your kids' attitudes change when the other person comes in the room, or if the other person comes around, they're happy and they're talking, and then this person comes around and they're kind of like, they start to withdraw, or they kind of sink in a little bit, or they always want to leave the room. Or take note of that. Take note of that, because that's not to be taken lightly. That's not to be taken lightly, because so many times things happen and children don't say anything for fear of getting in trouble, thinking that it's their fault when it's not. So please be mindful of, if you're with someone and your children's behavior start to change, notice that. Don't ignore it. Notice that. Please do. The next one is, okay. This one to me really stood out. And this was about, if you're with somebody that neglects their own kids, what makes you think they will be a good role model for yours? They don't call their kids. They don't see their kids. They don't spend time with their kids. They don't pay child support. They don't do anything for their children at all. They act like their own kids don't exist. So why would that be a good person for you to pick to be around your children? That It absolutely makes no sense. And let me tell you, that goes both ways. There are some women that drop their kids off and it's like, yeah, one didn't want to be a mom, and you turn around and go date somebody with kids. Like, that ain't cool either. That's not cool. You don't want to be a mom to yours, but you want to be a stepmama to somebody else's. That's not cool. Absolutely not. You don't deal with your kids, but you want to be a stepdaddy to somebody else's. That's not cool. That's absolutely not cool. That's a deal breaker. I know for me it's a deal breaker, because as much as I love my children with every fiber of my being, there's absolutely no way that I could deal with somebody that doesn't want to deal with their own kids. So you have to decide for yourself. If these are some of the things that are deal breakers for you, great. If they're not, that's cool too. Because you have to decide for yourself, what are actual deal breakers for you when it comes to you and your children and your relationship. Because at some point you have to set boundaries of when you are willing to walk away. Because here's the kicker: kids get attached, children get attached. When you start bringing people around and you bring them around often, kids get attached. Kids get attached. Zeta says, total deal breaker. Jackie says, same as you need to watch how people treat their mothers. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because here's the thing. If they're the person you with, I don't care if it's male or female, if they're completely disrespectful to their mother, How you think they're gonna treat you? If they talk to their mother any kind of way, how you think they're gonna talk to you? Moms and kids. Watch those relationships. Moms with kids. When it comes to, so I want to go back to some of these tips about dating with kids. Um, when you, so we talked about the tips for people who have kids. Now, when it comes to dating people with kids, when you don't have kids, you have to keep an open mind. You have to keep an open mind about their time. You have to keep in mind about be time mindful. That's one of the other things. Not only do you have to keep an open mind, because here's the thing: they're a parent, you're not. There's just some things they're going to deal with, some things they're going to go through that you just may not understand, or you just may not feel at that particular time may be important, but you wouldn't understand it because you're not a parent. You have to be respectful of their time and be flexible. I remember I was I had a man that was interested, and he would always want to go out when it was like super inconvenient for me. Like I would have, it would be like during the times that I had something already planned to do for my kids. And he told me, he said, well, you use your kids as an excuse. I was like, excuse me? Pardon me? You want to say that again? Repeat that in the good ear? He was like, yeah, you use your kids as an excuse. I'm sorry that I don't pay babysitters to watch my kids so I can go out on a date that I know is not going to be interesting for me, or something I don't want to do, just because you decide in that moment that that's when you want to spend time with me and it doesn't work for me. I've had people try to invite themselves when they call and be like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm having a movie night or family night with my kids. Oh, well, I can come over. I can be there in about, you weren't invited. I didn't invite you. You asked what I was doing, and I told you what I was doing. It's family night, so I'm not going to sit on this phone. I'm not going to sit here and talk to you because I just told you this is the time that I've dedicated and set aside for my children. People who can't understand that, you know, or whether, like I said, male or female, whether they can't understand that when you have time set aside for your children, that is your children's time. That does not include you coming over, inviting yourself, no, like there has to be a boundary, and it has to be time set aside in between. You have to be, when it comes to how they deal with their children, or when they're ready for you to meet their children, you have to follow their lead, because they're the parent and they know their children best. So if you choose to date someone who has children, then you have to follow their lead. Because if they're telling you, okay, well, maybe I think it's best if I introduce you to my kids one at a time instead of all together. Well, then that's something you have to deal with. You have to follow their lead on that, because they know what's best. They know what's best on how to introduce you to their children. You don't get to decide, well, I don't want to do it that way. I just want to meet them all at one time, one and done, get in, get out. Like, that's not how it works. You have to follow the other parent's lead, because it's all about comfort for their children. Also, when you go out on dates, if you're dating someone that has young children, I would say the ages of 8 on down, 8 to babies. Hey, Lauren, how are you? You have to, don't expect a phone call or a text message as soon as that person gets home. Be realistic. If the person you're dating has children 8 or under, don't expect a phone call or a text right back. Because when they get in, God forbid, those kids still be up. They have to give them the hugs, give them the kisses. They have to read their stories good night, put their kids to bed. Then, if they've been on a boring date with you, they have to take their shower, get themselves ready for bed. And by the time they're done, they don't want to talk to nobody. They just want to curl up in the bed and lay down. And it's okay if they don't hit you with nothing more back than a good night. I know when my kids were younger, let me tell you something. Dating when my kids was not younger, oh, baby, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I was drained just from the kids, let alone have time for anybody else. Like, oh, no. I had kids who had health issues, special needs. Like, no, I was tired. was like, yeah, I don't have the energy or the effort to put into anything right now. Okay. So that's why I say you have to decide for yourself when you're ready. When you're ready to date, when you feel that you have the time to put into that. The next one is when adults have kids and they're going on dates, they don't want to be stuck on them stuffy dates. Plan stuff that shows your adult fun, like Dave and Buster's, adult arcades, go-kart racing, things that appeal to your adult fun side. Those are the type of dates that you want to plan when you're dealing with someone that has kids, or vice versa. If someone wants to date you and you have kids, you want to go out on fun dates. When you don't have kids, that doesn't matter to you. It doesn't matter whether if all your dates are you going out to dinner or all your dates are going to the movies. But when you're a parent, sometimes you want to do some things that allow your inner child to come out too. Whether it be an arcade, whether it be batting cages, whether it be a fun park, just something every once in a while that appeals to your adult side, because you're stuck in that you're literally stuck in adult mode of responsibilities, parenting, and when you're dealing with younger kids and you changing diapers and doing all that kind of stuff, you want to do things that take your mind away from what you have at home by having fun dates. So those are some of the things that you can do when it comes to dating people that have kids if you don't particularly have kids. Those are some of the things that you need to do. Like I said, keep an open mind, following the lead of the other parent when it comes to meeting their children or any interactions when it comes to their children. Be respectful of their time and be flexible, because things come up. Things come up. You could be on a date and that person's kid gets sick. You need to be flexible to say, okay, we're going to have to end our day early because I'm going to have to go back home because my child has gotten sick, or my child has spiked a fever. Or you make plans and the school calls, and now you have to go to the school for whatever reason. You may have to pick your kid up early, or, it's so many things that can vary your time frame or change the course of your whole day, or it can throw your schedule out the window. Because let me tell you, kids are not like little robots where you program them and they do exactly what you want them to do. Because guess what? Kids get sick at the most inopportune time. It's almost like they wait till you in that big board meeting and they know you got plans after work, so you wore the cute outfit to work, knowing you going out after work, you done made plans and everything, and guess what happens? Oh, your kid done got sick. Now you got to go get them, or you have to go spend time at the hospital because you got to take your kids to the emergency room to see what's wrong. So now your plans have changed. So be mindful of that. You have to be flexible with your time when you're making dates or making plans to spend time together with someone who has children. And then vice versa. If someone is making plans to spend time with you and you have children, they need to be flexible as well. Because things happen. Life happens. Kids get sick. Kids do stupid stuff. They fall downstairs, they bump their heads, they eat things they shouldn't, they shove stuff up their noses, in their ears. They do all kind of weird stuff at the most inopportune time. So they have to be mindful of that. Hey mom, how are you? So listen, so we've gotten into some of the tips about dating with children, dating people with children. We've talked about some of the deal breakers. So now I want to talk to y'all about introducing your kids to the person you're dating. This to me, I find can be the trickiest part of dating, is introducing your kids and knowing how to introduce your kids to the person you're dating, because so oftentimes we're worried about um, just dealing with, hey, cat. We're worried about how our kids are dealing with, the issues that they already have going on. And when you want to make sure that you talk to your children when you're ready to date. And you have to be open and honest with them about it. They're going to have questions, and it's okay. Um, because one thing you have to do is when you're When you hashtag mom posting. When you have to make sure that you talk to your kids, because the first thing in the kid's mind is, well, I don't want to be replaced, or somebody's coming in to replace them, or somebody's coming in to take their mommy time, or so when you decide that you're ready to date and you're talking to your children about you meeting someone and you possibly liking someone, the first thing you want to do is decide for yourself is you have to determine your level of commitment to this person. Determine what level you're at in that relationship. If this is somebody you just met and you guys are literally only 2 weeks in, ain't no need for them to meet your kids. Ain't no need for them to meet your kids. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some stories of love at first sight. They met and 3 months later they were engaged. 6 months later they were married. But how many of those stories involve children? How many of those? There was a story on Dr. Phil. This lady met this man online, and I believe they talked online for like 6 months or something like that. 6 months to a year. Well, the woman moved the man into her house and they got married. Never introduced his children to her children. The kids didn't know anything about the other person that they were dating. And they threw these kids into the mix. And because they moved into her house, she moved her children into the basement and moved his kids into her children's room. Now, there's so many wrong on all, there's so many levels of wrong with that situation. Let me tell you, so many levels to wrong. But Anijay says, if you're dating and going on your first date, get as much info as you can from him without being too obvious. Then go home, pull his name up on the internet. See, I ain't the only person that do research. See, I'm not the only person who do research. I'm just saying. Do your research on the person. That's important. You should know those things. You need to know if this person has any type of abuse in their background, any type of domestic violence in their background. This is kind of stuff you need to know. So absolutely, do your research. So when it comes to, hey Daryl, how are you? When it comes to you introducing your children to the other person, once you determine your level of commitment, or you have determined your level of comfort, then you can decide when it's okay to meet your children. But you must, you absolutely have to decide if you even see this person as a long-term relationship. If you cannot see yourself as a long-term relationship in with this person, or you can't see this person as becoming a permanent member of your family, or you can't see your person positively interacting not just with your children but with the rest of your family and things like that, then there's no point in introducing your kids. Do not introduce your children to people that you do not plan to be around for a long time. If you are not ready for a relationship, or you're at a point in your life where you don't want to be in relationships and you just want to have friends, let me tell you something. Your children shouldn't meet them. Your children shouldn't even see them. In after bedtime, out before they up. Your kids shouldn't meet people who you are not ready to be in a serious relationship with, because children get attached, especially if these people are coming around on a regular basis. Because when things don't work out with you and that other person, not only are you heartbroken, but them kids can be heartbroken. Them kids can act like something is being taken from them. Because it's not too often that when people break up or separate, when there are children involved, the other person does not maintain a relationship or maintain the relationship that they had with those kids when they were with the parent. So now the kids are left heartbroken and hurt. So that's something that needs to be taken into consideration. Anijay says a woman should never ever move a man in her house when she has children. She's disrespect. I get it. I get it. It says shared. Hashtag mom sharing had to. This is a check as I have seen. It's so oftentimes that we don't sometimes even just as parents in general, that we think about what it is we want, what it is that we need. And don't get me wrong, as adults, as humans, we all have needs. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that it's not okay to fulfill your needs. That ain't what I'm saying. What I'm saying is be mindful in the aspects of your children. Be mindful that they see more than we think they see. They hear more than we think they hear. So be mindful of that when you choose to do the things, whatever it is you choose to do. But if you're not going to be in a long-term relationship with this person, bringing them around your children can be detrimental to your children's emotional effect. They can be heartbroken. They can become withdrawn. Because especially for children who don't have father figures, and for a man to come in and to begin to assume that role of the father figure and then to be taken away from it, that can be extremely crushing for your children. So please be mindful of that. Be mindful of and be watchful of the relationships that you allow your partners to develop with your children, especially if you don't see a long term relationship with this person. I'm just saying, don't do it. Anija says she disrespects herself and her children. I would need to see his pay stubs and his rent for a year. So you're going to make me pull out the fan on that one. Come on now. Financial stability. Come on with it. It is very attractive, okay? Financial stability is a very attractive quality. Absolutely. Kat says, I don't live before my child. And that's the thing. Because kids see everything and we think they don't. Kat says, even not doing that type of life to bring a man, the relationship is important. It is. Because a bond between a mother and child is something that is so special and so strong that but it still has levels of, how do I say, not tender, but there are levels of that in which it can be strained. Um, Even sometimes in older children, when you're dating and children feel like the person you're with is not good for you, and it can cause strains on your relationship with your adult children. I've seen it happen. Um, but when you have younger children, one thing you need to make sure that you're doing is you want to keep things in perspective for your children. And you have to reassure them that I'm still your mom. I still love you. Nothing is going to change. There's no one that is ever going to take your place. I'm still going to be here for you. But this is just someone that mom likes. This is someone that dad enjoys spending time with. You have to have those conversations with your children and make sure that you're reassuring them. Because if there's no reassurance that when these people come into your lives, the first thing they think is, oh, well, they're trying to take my mom. They're trying to take my dad. And when those attitudes, let me tell you something, when them attitudes pop up in kids will do things to try to break your relationship up because there was no reassuring in the beginning that this person was not coming in to take from their life, or this person wasn't coming in to replace them. This person was coming in to add quality of life. This person was coming in to add to the joy and add to the happiness and add to the number of the family. So you have to make sure you do those things, because kids, if they begin to get resentful or if they begin to feel hurt, children will do things to break up your relationship. And I'm not talking major things, I mean minor things. It can be something as minor as a go between. Well, they said this. And well, my mama said this. So when it comes to introducing your children to people, two questions that you should ask yourself first. Can I see this person as a part of my family? If your answer is no, then you don't even need to think about introducing your children. Just a thought. You don't even need to think about introducing your children to this person, especially if, hey, Sam, hey. Kat says we are in a place that is different, but it is all the same. Sam says, good evening. He said, Bobby's making her way. All right, tell Bobby. We said, hey, Bobby. So when it comes to, and the second question you should ask yourself when it comes to wanting to introduce your children is, so if you can answer yes to the first question of, can I see this person as a part of my family? If you can say yes, then ask yourself the second question. Do I see this as a long-term relationship? And if you see this as a long term relationship and you've decided that this is a relationship and this is someone that you could see yourself either being a part of your family or being in a long term relationship. And when I say long term relationship, I mean somebody that you could possibly marry and spend the rest of your life with. So let's just be specific here. If this is not somebody that you could see yourself possibly spending the rest of your life with, whether you marry the person or you just spend the rest of your life with them, if you can't see that in a future for you two, then there's no reason to bring your children into a situation that is not going to last, only to allow them to be hurt or resentful or angry about the fact. Because here's the thing, kids get resentful when there's a constant stream of people in their house. Kids begin to get resentful of the fact that every time they look up, there's somebody new in their house. Like, I don't care if it's a week, I don't care if it's 2 days. Children begin to get resentful. Their behavior begins to change. And I don't mean if it's in a positive manner. Children's behavior will change. Attitudes will develop. Seen it happen. Seen it happen. Kat says, if not, it's just time. You have to, it is. You have to know timing is everything. Timing is everything. Because we live in a day and age now where there's so many different ways. There's it's not too much meeting people in a bar, meeting people at a club anymore. Most people are meeting people through Facebook dating. And unfortunately, the facade that you see on a lot of these profiles, it's not the actual person. You don't get to see what a person is like when they're angry based off their Facebook dating profile. You don't get to see how a person handles bad news on eHarmony. You don't get to see those type of things. You don't get to see the real reaction of people based off the few words that they may be lying about on their dating profile. And actually, people lie about the pictures they put on their profile. So you have to be mindful in this new dating age that we're in, because it's like cyber dating. You don't have, I mean, they still have speed dating from time to time. But in this day and age of cyber dating, it's unfortunate, but some of these pedophiles can hide themselves behind these dating profiles. And they're specifically seeking out women who have children because of whatever is inept in their life that caused them to be the predator that they are. So you have to research the people that you are. And when I say research, let me tell you something. You can search a picture and see if it pops up anywhere else to tell if it's a fake profile. Because sometimes if it seems too good to be true, it is. It is. And you have to sometimes look at the person's picture. And if it just doesn't seem to fit the profile, or you begin to have conversations with this person, whether it be texting or talking, and you notice that the things that they say don't match up with what they say on the profile, or they have an accent that doesn't match where they say they're from, or where it says, their ethnicity or whatever is, take note of that. Take note of those little things. They may be subtle, but take note of those things. Because at the end of the day, it is your job as a parent to protect your children. And I know, although that we as parents, we do deserve a life, we still have to remember that we are the guardians and the protector of the little people in our homes. So you have to be careful of who you're bringing in, because you want to make sure that you're protecting that. You still have to protect your peace, and you still have to protect your space. So if you feel that something is off, don't ignore those red flags. Don't ignore those little things that kind of make you go, I don't know about that. If it makes you cringe or it makes you pause, those are red flags. Don't just glide by them. Take note. Take note of those things. Pay attention to those things. Pay attention that once you reach a point that you decide to introduce your children to the person in which you're dating, um, you have to. Here's the thing, there's things you can do. First rule, I'm going to tell you, when you're introducing your children to the person that you're dating, your first meeting should not be in your home. It should be in your house, and it shouldn't be in their house. That's just the first thing. Because you want to create a neutral ground. Because at your house, the kids kind of have an upper advantage. And at the other person's house, they kind of have an upper advantage. Because if your kids are uncomfortable, it's their house. They don't have to change anything, they don't have to do anything. At your house, there's the capability to make that other person uncomfortable. But when you're meeting at a neutral location, you want to make sure that it's outdoors. You want to make sure that you're outside, outdoors. You want to make sure that you're planning some sort of event that is kid friendly and not the movies. The movies is not the place you want to go to when you're having your first interaction with the person that you're dating and your children. Because you want to allow things to happen organically. You want to introduce them. You want to sit down before you do it. You want to sit down and have a conversation and say, hey, um, mommy's been seeing someone for a little while. Mommy be like, remember, mommy told you that mommy was going to start dating. And so mommy met somebody that I like. Um, and I have been talking to this person for a while, and I really like them. I really like their personality. They really seem to be a really nice person. And I was wondering if you would like to meet them. If your children say no, honor that. Honor that. Because when pushing your children to meet the person that you're with, if they're not ready, leads to disaster. It leads to disaster. You don't want to do that. Kat says, teach. I don't do electrical dating, but those that want a person does not tell you. She says, Facebook gave me issues with just Cat. I still speak though. Absolutely. Never bring someone into your house. She says, do not give your address to the date. Absolutely not. Here's the thing. You can either Lyft or Uber, or if you want your date to pick you up, they can pick you up on the corner, the next corner of your block. They don't have to pick you up in front of your house. They don't have to pick you up in front of your house. You can meet there. You can take a Lyft back. You can take Uber back. If you have your own car, you drive and you meet there. They don't necessarily have to pick you up the first couple of dates in front of your house. There's no need for them to have your address, especially if you have kids at home. One thing I don't do, I don't do pop-ups at my house. I don't allow anyone to pop up at my house. Nobody. You have to call first. Because I promise you, I'm one of those people that if you show up at my house and you didn't call me first, 9 times out of 10, I'm watching you out that window of my door and I'm just not going to answer. Because you didn't have the common courtesy or decency to call me first. Do not give out your phone numbers and you can give out your phone number, but not your address. Jackie says, always have a couple of friends or family that have your location. Find my iPhone or other apps. Absolutely. That's another key point. When you're going out on dates, make sure somebody, let me tell you something. Me and my sisters have a system. If I'm ever going anywhere, somebody has my location at all times because that's important. People are getting kidnapped out here. Look, let me tell you something. Dating today is not like dating used to be. People are getting kidnapped. People are coming up missing. It's super important that somebody knows where you are at all times when you're out on a date. If your date is picking you up on the corner or your date is picking you up somewhere in the proximity of your home, somebody needs to know the make, the model, the license plate of the car, the person's name that you're with, because these are key important things that somebody needs to know. Okay, well, you're out with Steve. Steve drives a silver Benz. The license plate is this. The make and model is this. Those are things that you need to do to set in place because safety is important. Safety is everything. If you can help it, meet at the first date. Don't allow them to pick you up. Because you have to decide for yourself what happens if you get there after they picked you up and you realize that you don't even want to be there. Then what? Now, if the other person gets upset and decides they're not going to take you home, then you're left stranded. So make sure that you always have a way, whether it's to drive there, have money, always keep you money for an Uber and a Lyft, honey, always, or keep you a bus card or something to make sure that you always have a way home when you get to where you're going. Because if somebody has your location with the person's name, I'm so petty, I will send them a picture of the person. That's how petty I am. I will make sure that my sisters or one of my sisters has a picture of the person's face, their car, the plates. I get to the restaurant, I take a picture of the outside, I send the restaurant, drop that pin. Even if they have the location, I drop a pin so they know where I am. Because it's important that you have to, it's unfortunate, but those are the things we have to do now in today's dating society. Because it goes back to again that not everybody has the best intentions. Not everybody has good intentions. So if you see a profile, whether you like it or you're like, okay, this person seems interesting, check the picture. See if the picture appears anywhere else. If they give you a name, see if the name matches. Check phone numbers. See if the phone numbers match the name that they gave you. It's easy ways to do these things because you have to be safe, especially if you're considering this person to become a member of your family or to be a part of your children's lives. That's important. You want to take your kids to places like, I don't know about Chuck E. Cheese because that's kind of like, but like places like the park. They have places like Hollywood Park that have go karts, miniature golf is a good place to take kids because you're able to be out in public. You're out in a neutral location. You're in a neutral atmosphere where your kids can ask questions, you can answer those questions. Those are the type of things that you want to make sure that you answer. Cass says won't answer. Absolutely. Because when people have your address, they feel like they can pop up on you sometimes. And that's the last thing you want is to be on a date with somebody or be dating somebody and they have your address and they feel like because you've been talking to them for 3 weeks or 4 weeks on the phone and you all have been out on dates that they can pop up at your house. I'm just saying. Be mindful of things like that. Be watchful of things like that, especially when people feel like they can just pop up. Just a thought. Kat says, no matter if they are even geriatric. Look, when I say nobody, I mean nobody, okay? David says, folks, today, absolutely. There is so much going on now. It's so much going on that you have to be mindful because just like you have to drive for other people, you're dating for other people. You're not just dating for yourself, you're dating for your children. Because while you're dating this person, keep that in the back of your mind. How would this person react? How would this person respond to something that my kids needed in that moment? Or how would they just respond to my children in general? Some kids have emotional issues, some kids have behavioral issues, some kids have health issues. So to see how someone would respond to that, I mean, then in conversation, throw out hypotheticals. Like ask questions, especially once you tell them that you have kids and they decide that that's something that they want to be a part of. When the time is right and you decide that the timing is perfect to introduce your children, throw out hypotheticals. And if their answer is, I don't know, they ain't my kid, I ain't gonna do with that. If they answer any of your questions like that, get your stuff and run. Just get it and run. Okay? I promise you, like, not good intentions. I'm just saying. Just saying. Kat says parent and as a caretaker. So much I have seen. Absolutely. It's so unfortunate to see on the news. Like there was a story a couple years ago of a girl went to the hospital to have her boyfriend's baby. And while she was at the hospital having his baby, he killed her 18-month-old and threw the baby's body in the garbage. Like, really? She at the hospital having your baby? Like, that's why I say you have to be mindful. You have to research the people you're around. Please, especially if you have younger children that are not of the age to be able to speak for themselves, or children who are not able to do for themselves. Be mindful of that. You have to be very mindful and watchful of that. Because so many times people, oh, they want to put their best foot forward, and oh, they put so much facade and so much effort into their facade that they're giving you, that sometimes you don't even get to see the real person until shit hits the fan. Then that mean streak come out. Oh, now they hollering, they cussing, they want to grab you, they want to grab your kid. Oh, hell no. But look here, there's a door right there. I'm gonna need you to go through it. I'm gonna need you to go through that. So you have to see what a person is like in several situations before you decide to introduce people to your children. Kat says, it is crazy to hear the transporter to mom's transport to adult health talk about my cute mom. Wow. Yeah. I mean, you have to, everybody is not, has the best intentions for doing the things that they do. It's really not. So just make sure that when you're dating with children, that you date with your children in mind. And if you choose to date someone with children that and you don't have children, please keep in mind that you must be open-minded, you must be flexible, and you have to be patient sometimes because kids are not always predictable. Um, they do the craziest things, they say the craziest things, and they get sick at the most inopportune times, you know. So just be mindful of that if you're choosing to be a part of someone's life that has children and you don't. And if someone is choosing to be a part of your life and you have children, that they need to be open minded, they need to be flexible with time and plan and making plans. They need to be flexible about those. And you know, lastly, you just want to make sure that in your dating that your children are comfortable. You want to make sure that you're dating with your children in mind, that they're comfortable with the person that you're with. Talk to your children, have those honest conversations about you being ready to date, but make sure that you are ready. Don't just jump back out there because somebody says, oh, well, you know, your kids is 5, gone back out there. You need to jump back in there. It's okay if you're not ready. Don't allow anyone else to decide or determine when you're ready to date or when you're ready to put yourself out there, because it takes work. Just like being a parent takes work, it's a lot of work dating with kids. It really is. So I hope that in this time that we have had together, I hope that I have been able to shed some kind of light on what it's like to date people with children and what it's like dating with children. Um, because at the end of the day, your kids are still very much a part of that process when you're dating. So just know for yourself. Know when you're ready. Know the role that you want to take. If you decide that you want to date someone with children or someone is dating you and you have children, make sure that you or that other person know the role that they want to play in your children's lives. Know that. Know what your deal breakers are. Know what your boundaries are when you're ready to walk away. Know what those are. And don't be unwavering when it comes to your deal breakers and your boundaries. Be steadfast in those, because when you break on your deal breakers, sometimes your children are the ones that suffer the consequences for those. So, if anything, this week I'm going to ask that you guys do a random act of kindness. Um, I'm going to, matter of fact, this week, if you have children, whether they're your children, nieces, nephews, grandchildren, whatever, I'm going to ask that this week you do one fun activity. Instead of doing one random act of kindness, I'm going to ask that you do one fun activity with your children or a child this week to remind yourself of the joy that children can bring, and do something fun that brings out your inner child. Do something for yourself this week. So, those are the two things I'm asking this week. Do something fun with a child to remind yourself of the joy, and do something for yourself. Take yourself to the movies, go get a massage, do something for self care this week. Okay? And in case nobody told you guys, you are important, you are loved, and I love you. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it. I thank you guys so much for joining me today to talk about dating with children. We will be back. Hey, Marjorie! We will be back on Wednesday. And Wednesday, we will be discussing dating after divorce. So absolutely, I thank you guys so much for rocking with me tonight. And I will see you guys on Wednesday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time.